Right.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Words, Work, and Winifred. I'm Winifred Summer, and I'm here on camera, which is different, but different good. And I have a really great guest. So I have Mark L. Burns, a
Hey.
personal chef, and I actually have known Mark for a while. I can't even remember what year it was. Well over a decade, I'm
Early
sure.
2000s, definitely.
I don't, you know what?
Like
Where did we
mid, like
meet?
it was early to mid 2000s. I think I met you somewhere before. So, I'm wondering if I was in the military, if I joined the military. No, you know what? It was after 2000. It was like probably like 2005. I know you were in Towson at the
Hmm.
time.
Yeah.
And not 2005, 2006, because I came back from Iraq in 2005. But yeah, I'll be at the Towson and everything, and we met through that situation there, and I mean, life has definitely taken us in very different directions from that point on and
Yeah.
everything. I still look at pictures of the open mic night I had at my place that time.
Yes. Oh my goodness. That was a good time.
Yes,
Definitely.
I'm gonna have to share those pictures again because it's been a while since I really sat down and looked at them. But
For sure. So it's like you've lived a couple different lives. So
yeah,
I do want to talk. Let's start with, oh man. Okay. How was Mark as a child? Like, how would you describe your personality and the things that you were into?
very quiet, like so incredibly quiet. I feel like it was, I don't know. I feel like I was a born introvert, somewhat. But ultimately, I was a middle child. My sister didn't come till like a decade later, but so for the first 10 years of life, I was just basically the kind of the all right, you guys do that over there. I'm just gonna just give me a book and some cookies. I'm good. Um, so it was kept to myself a lot growing up. And naturally about age 7, that's kind of when I started like learning how to cook. My I was By that time I was so in love with grilled cheese sandwiches that I just one day I guess I was feeling myself one day and just kind of begging my mom to let me make it and all because I'm like, oh, okay, mom, I saw you, I know how you make it, I see you, I see you and everything. So one day she was just like, all right, you know what? Fine, let's see what you can do. Okay, long story short, I burned it. Um, I absolutely burned it. And but then from that point, I think my mom kind of let me do that just to kind of show, let me realize like, okay, there's a wrong way to do this and there's a right way to do it. Now I'm gonna show you the right way. And she's been pretty much teaching me a lot about just kitchen basics and getting a better understanding of like just how to work the stove and all, and actually putting butter in the pan because I certainly didn't do that. And just getting understanding of using like kitchen kitchen utensils, equipment, stuff like that. And then going down the road in life, I wasn't doing too much cooking, but it was more like experimenting more. It's like, okay, wonder how many things I can do with ramen noodles, stuff like that. And just putting together little combinations that the outside world would probably be like, dude, are you serious? But to me it was like, yeah, this is something. And 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 it just seemed like throughout life, like my two things I found like my most comfort in was food and reading, um, and stuff. So, and well, okay, let me make that three: food, reading, and music. But and food kind of like as far as like the cooking side of it, it always kind of laid in the background a lot of times, but it was something I would do from time to time. Most times, I'm either reading a book or doing some music or being the video gamer like I was back then. And through I get older, I'm not the popular guy, whatever, not trying to be in the limelight or anything like that. Just stayed, just kind of stayed in the background, let the rest of the world do what the rest of the world do. But but I found my own interests along the way most times and all. And 1999, that's actually when I moved out of New York and all. Moved out of New York down to Maryland, and then about 2003 is when I joined the military and went over to Iraq for about a year from 2004 to 2005. Um, and I did go to school a few times at Baltimore City Community College, but I didn't know what in the world I wanted to do with myself. It was, but you know how it goes. You go to school, you just one major here, one major there. You're thinking like, ugh, it, it was annoying. It was so incredibly annoying being someplace you don't know where you want to be and
Mm.
all. So, but I'm trying to stick to childhood because I done went all the way to adulthood.
It's cool. You touched on a lot of things that I was going to ask about anyway. So,
Oh, okay.
well, let me first start with because you mentioned grilled cheese, right?
Yeah.
In your opinion, the perfect grilled cheese, describe it. And I'm going to set the tone with this one because
Okay, okay.
my version of a perfect grilled cheese, okay? I need to have, and don't judge me, listeners, or you.
Okay, I won't.
I need some either wheat bread or
Mm-hmm.
some kind of sourdough.
Mm-hmm.
I want either pepper jack or mozzarella.
Okay.
I gotta have tomatoes. Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
fresh
I hear that a
sliced
lot.
tomatoes in
Mm-hmm.
my grilled cheese. Maybe a little spinach. Maybe it's not necessary, but it gives it a little something. And
Mm-hmm.
that's it. Butter,
Yeah.
smash it.
Yeah. Hey, ain't nothing wrong with that. I mean, I've never, I've had it with tomato once. It wasn't immediately my jam, but every now and again, I'm not mad at it. Definitely not mad at it. But for me, when it comes down to it, and I've had many different types over the years, but for me, the perfect one for me is well, I kind of treat it as I do with my cheese. Um, it's always like a good cheese sauce gotta have like three kinds of cheese: a mild, a creamy, and a sharp. So my favorite would definitely have to be like a mild cheddar because classic cheddar always. For creamy, I'll do a little mozzarella, and for the sharp. Depends on what depends on what I'm feeling that day or so. Maybe if they have like a sheet of say like either some sharp cheddar or some I remember having one time this it was a parmesan. It was just like ooh wow. It was like a flat sheet of parmesan on it. I was like, oh, this is different and stuff. So that's generally because it like the type of cheeses can be so differently. But I could say, but I can't say one of my favorites. My go-to is cheddar and Swiss on brioche. And I'm not mad at wheat. I'm not mad at wheat bread. I really am not mad at that at all. It's actually, yeah, I've actually made some good ones with that. But yeah, cheddar and Swiss are like my must-haves.
Okay, listen, I thought I was doing something with my sourdough bread.
No, ain't nothing wrong
You
with it.
have all these different cheeses. Okay, listen, that sounds
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, I mean, matter of fact, it was a homework assignment I had when I went to culinary school. We they had us do like a Monte Cristo, and that's basically I mean, it's for the most part it's a real cheese sandwich, but it's dipped in some batter before you put it in the pan. But it's also includes some turkey and some ham. Usually, traditionally, that's what it includes. But that was probably the most out there grilled cheese I could say I've had. I mean, I've definitely had with spinach. Uh, I've had with spinach a few times, bacon a few times. Just I experiment. I experiment from
Good
time to time.
stuff. Okay, cool. So then you touched on going to the military.
Yes.
So what made you make that decision? Because I've had a couple people who are also friends of mine who have been in the military as well. And
Mm,
it's interesting because I had one person that came from like this legacy of, all of the people in the family were in the military in
right,
some form or
right,
fashion. And so, it
right.
was one of those things where the family was very passionate of continuing to do that work. Then I
Yeah,
have a
yeah,
friend who told me that he felt like he was tricked into the military, because it was advertised as an opportunity for him
yeah.
to play basketball and all this stuff. Shout out
Mm,
to Sean. And so he went there with the desire to like play sports, and it
hmm.
just turned into, a whole bunch of other stuff. But what made you reach the decision and um, let's start there. What made you reach the decision?
It's funny because you know how back in the day, like elementary school and all, you get that career day where someone from a certain field comes in and all, and we have like the policeman, fireman. So usually it's like policeman, fireman, and army guy. That's usually what will come in. And for the longest, I found myself like really drawn to, oh, okay, he have medals, and I'm just like really like trying to figure this whole thing out with the soldier sitting there. I mean, because he would come in as like the classic green uniform and stuff at the time, and I was always just fascinated by that. And growing up, I would always hear like, of course, I'd hear the same old song and dance and stories about it and all that. Oh, you can pay for college and you can, all that stuff and everything and everything. But what ultimately made me say, okay, this is what I want to do, was the fact that I was working in Rite Aid and I was kind of getting really, really, really tired of it. and but of course, I say something like that out loud, and it's like a recruiter just really, literally was in my line and all, and but what I liked about this particular recruiter was that he was keeping it 100 with me the whole time. He wasn't trying to sell me a dream or anything like that. And that's one of the main things I had to really be careful about. I don't want nobody trying to sit here and be like, oh yeah, you can buy this and you can make this much and you can, okay, no, please let me know what I'm going to be doing because just, you know, but he was straightforward with me about it, and that's ultimately what made me say, "All right, you know what? I'm in. Let's do this." Plus, I never traveled on a plane before at the time, so that was a new thing for me.
Okay, wonderful. So, would you say that you're content with how your experience was in the military? If you had the opportunity to, rewind the time, would you do it all over again and make that same decision?
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, maybe it may be a few other things I would tweak, but because I mean, let's be realistic. Your body gets older, and you get older, and there's just certain things that start to happen that you really didn't think was going to start happening. you know, it's like, oh, my back does this now. All right, all right, great. but but overall, I can't say that I feel I can't I definitely don't regret it. I really don't regret it at all. I mean, I probably wouldn't become a recruiter and try to push people into it, but I have found myself guiding people at least when they make that decision and all that, and just kind of helping them understand, like, look, this is what's going to happen in basic training. This is going to happen in AIT. This is going to happen when you get to your unit, so on. So, just being a guide of sorts, you know. But but yeah, but no regrets.
So I do want to ask, and we'll talk about other things, but I always find it interesting to hear how different, vets answer the question. So life after what you thought it was going to be? For some people, yes, for some people, no. I've heard it depends on, a majority of factors, but life after serving, how would you say that it is compared to what you maybe thought it would be?
Well, I was a reservist the whole time, so I wasn't really separated much from the civilian world per se. 1 week in a month. Well, my last few years that I was in, I was an instructor. So, on top of doing the 1 week in the month thing, I would be sent to different parts of the country to actually teach as well. So when it came time to actually leave the military, um, the transition process wasn't really too difficult for me personally. I feel like I've had friends that kind of helps me to remain balanced throughout life and all. So it's not this I'm too far gone type of scenario. Even though I have spent a year over in Iraq, but it was never a situation where I felt like I can't adjust. Now, I will admit, when I got back from Iraq, there was a few moments of having to adjust to being back in the United States and everything. Even though nothing traumatic happened to me, thank goodness. Still, it was just some things getting used to. I just remember somebody picking me up to go somewhere, and I was on my way to the car, and then my mom, well, at the time I was with my parents, my mom was like, Mark, do you really need that right now? And I'm looking down at my hand and realize I'm holding a helmet. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm gonna put this down now. Jay, and
Oh,
so
wow.
on. Just little stuff like that. Nothing too like insane or anything like that. No PTSD, thank goodness.
Mhm.
Um, and all. So yeah, but the transition into back into like normal life and everything, it was just fine for me.
Okay, awesome. So how do you go from a person that, likes to cook, there are a lot of people that like to cook and cook well,
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
doing what you're doing now? Because I seen you on, Facebook, and now I see you on the
Hmm.
Instagram, and I'm like, okay, he's like doing it. Like I saw something
Hmm.
about a discount, and I'm like, oh, so he's doing services. So how did you go
Hmm.
from, finding joy in cooking and developing your talent to saying, okay, I want to do this professionally?
Yeah. A lot of it went down when I moved out to Maryland, really, as far as because I feel like that's when I found myself like entertaining more and having people over and all that, and cooking for guests and stuff. And I found myself becoming a lot like tapping more into my creative side. And one of the bigger, I guess, one of like the major influences, believe it or not, came from the open mic night. Believe it, actually, because the only thing that was on that table that I didn't exactly cook per se was, well, no, I made the crab dip too, but it was a seasoned packet that I put with it, and just do the other ingredients together, so on and so forth. But it was one of those things that really just made me feel like I like entertaining people in this particular way. I mean, sure, I like using, I like using my music, and I like doing my poetry, but I felt like what, I really like doing this. And so, any opportunity that I had to entertain as far as like cooking for others and everything, it'd be cool, even if it was just some random old neighbor, like, hey, neighbor, you want to try this a little bit? And so on. And they thought it was weird at first, but then after a while they realized I wasn't playing around. I can actually cook. It was like, okay. But I'll have to say that the part where I wanted to actually take it seriously, it that happened during the pandemic. By this time I've been, been living out here in Virginia, and everything shut down and stuff. And at the time I was like thinking like, okay, I want to, I'm cooking, right? And I'm thinking to myself, I want to go to school. I want to go back to school. Because every time I went for something that I liked, but I wasn't in love with. So hold on a second. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay. Um, like I went for something that I liked that I thought would have been nice or whatever, but I wasn't really in love with it or so. So but but as I'm cooking and all, I'm like kind of really diving into my bag. I'm just like, all right, let me taste this, let me try this, let me put this. Okay, I need a little bit more of this, I need a little bit, just really going through it and stuff. And then at some point, I was like, why do I do this? Like, I mean, it's just I love doing this. So I love doing this for other people. I love doing this for myself, obviously. why not see where this goes? So at that point, I enrolled into the Augustus Escoffier School for the Culinary Arts, and they and it was now mind you it was online, but they set it up to where when I start cooking or when I cook anything or whatever, they taught me to well, we had to kind of first take pictures of all the steps just so they know that okay, yeah, he is doing this and everything. But also they had me give like a really detailed description of how everything tasted. And it really kind of expanded my vocabulary when it comes to being a chef and everything. And then they also taught me the business side of it all. It wasn't just simply, hey, you can cook an egg 6 ways. It's, they taught me how to actually manage like the business side of like things like running a restaurant, food costs, so on and so forth. And then we had an internship. I worked at a historic African American restaurant known as the Croaker Spot, which is out. Well, there's one in my area in Petersburg, and there's another in Richmond. But definitely look it up. It's a great place. Um, I worked back there as a prep. I worked there as the prep cook, and that really inspired a lot more because now I'm realizing, okay, my food is now going to complete and total strangers. This isn't going to people that I know that's going to tell me I'm good. It's good. This is going to people that have this is like the make or break almost. Like, okay, that means somebody can at some point in time break into the back and go, oh my gosh, who made this? This is just wrong, and so on. But but I was a prep cook, so I wasn't like doing like the mainline stuff. I was doing like the sides, things like that. The mac and cheese, the cornbread, so on and so forth. Apparently, people were falling in love with my cornbread, and I'm like, I don't get it. I'm doing the same exact thing as the recipe dictates. With like, what am I doing? But my manager, these my manager's words, not mine. What my manager was saying to me, like, but you put something different in it. It's like it's a different feeling when you cook it like you actually love it, which is true. I love cornbread. So I did. So as I'm doing this, and then a very after a very surprising reaction to bread pudding, something that I don't even like personally, but people were like, "Oh my gosh!" Like I made a batch of it that was supposed to have been part of a catering order, and I put it, made it, put it out, and so on. And the person that was coming to pick it up, she was there, and she was like, "Okay, where's the she didn't know where the bread pudding was at and all." And I'm like, "I put it." Oh. And then come to find out the employee, my coworkers ate it. Like, I'm like, wait,
Oh,
what?
really?
Like, wait a minute. But at the same time, it turns out the place where I put it wasn't the area for the catering pickups. It was actually the area where it's like, oh yeah, y'all can have this. Y'all, this is
Hmm.
for it was the community table, I should say, and stuff. But they were just like, oh gosh, we tore that up in like 10 minutes or so. So but and that really kind of sparked a little something in me because at first I was just thinking like, okay, maybe I'll just do a food truck. I still want to do the food truck, but
Hmm.
first I'll just like do a little food truck, maybe work in a few restaurants from time to time, this, that, and the third. But when I realized that, oh, this person really liked my food. And I don't know what different I did from everyone else's, but I felt like, what, as much as I like working with working on other people's recipes and putting them out there, I like putting my own flair on things and all. I like people to know that they came from me. Not to say that I need all the adulations and pomp and circumstance to come with it or whatever, but it's just simply like, what, there is a version of this that I think people will really enjoy. So let me see what I would like to see how they feel about my cooking now.
Okay.
And eventually last year, that's kind of when I started getting the process going. And and at first I was just doing like like plant-based milks, which I still do. I still do plant-based milk. So if you ever need one, just let me know. I'll shoot up there and deliver it. At least right now, just that's how I'm getting it out there, just delivering myself. But but then I started reaching out to people that possibly wanted a personal chef, and I felt like that was like right up my I always felt like that was right up my alley because I just felt like, you know what, now people can see what I can really do and all. And so far it's been so much fun. Like it's been a lot of fun. It's just been a great time just getting to know people more and stuff. Starting to understand differences between all these other stoves I've done worked on because I swear some people just so well, I don't know. You get to see how people take care of themselves and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
and that's pretty much that's pretty much what it's been. It's just
Okay.
feeling that need to like, okay, I want to put my personal stamp on this. I don't want it to just be oh yeah, just out of this recipe book from this restaurant that I'm working at and all. Nothing's wrong with it. I have
Yeah.
absolutely no problems with restaurant work or anything like that. I
Mhm.
loved my time at the corporate spot. But ultimately it's like I know what I like to make and I want people to enjoy that as well.
So I have a question. So when you
Yes.
were talking about culinary school and then you were like, yeah, and we were doing it online, I was like, whoa, 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 wait, I didn't know that was a thing. So was that
Yeah.
because of the pandemic, or is that just a regular thing that if you know,
Well,
you can go to culinary school online?
I think it's been around a little, I think it's been around probably, it wasn't as popular, let's put it that way. It wasn't as big. It grew definitely during that pandemic time, but that was like the ultimate reason really, because I I wasn't about to get into. I mean, I was looking because I don't live far from a base, and
Mhm.
they do have like culinary classes there. But but also it's just this is the military. Okay, you're probably going to learn how to make eggs 1,000 ways or something. But I mean, nothing's wrong with it. I mean, we all like eggs, I guess. But I just wanted to expand in what I
Yeah.
knew,
Yeah.
because I can't just sit here and act like I know everything, because I know I don't. And going to culinary school, especially this way, doing it online and everything, it was just I felt the same way you probably was feeling at the time once I even said it. It
It's
was like, wait, I'm like,
interesting.
how do
It's
you?
like, can't you lie? Like, because you were talking about having to describe how things taste. Can't you
Mhm.
just say anything? And how would they really know?
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, you probably could, but because ain't nobody, wasn't nobody coming over to taste
From
anything
knock
or
to
whatever.
door, like,
It's real simple, but it's like, but I feel like that's the point in time where you learn. You learn about yourself? Like, okay, do you seriously want to do this, or do you just want to you just want to get a piece of paper up on your wall that says you did it? You know,
right.
and I knew for myself, I was like, look, if I'm going to be doing this for real, I really I need to be ready to critique myself too,
Hmm.
because I mean, I can't sit here and say that everything I've made came out great. I've made blunders in the kitchen just like any other chef has. So if I'm not able to be honest about that and just go, okay, you know what? I know this was supposed to be sweet, but it actually came out a little bit bitter because of this, and this, and so
Yeah.
on. Then you're never gonna evolve. You're never gonna change. You're never gonna get it right at all.
Mhm.
You're just gonna keep putting out. You're just gonna like, you're not gonna challenge yourself, and that's mostly when you're gonna grow, when you start putting yourself in areas where it's like, all right, this is not my comfort zone, but let's see how this works.
Definitely. And that's the key, if you are in it for the right reasons, you are going to want to be honest about how things taste, about
Oh
your
yeah.
process. You're not going to try AI your photos,
Right.
Photoshop,
You know what? And there was. You know, it was funny. One of my teachers actually thought that that I was taking stock photos from from
Oh my
Google
goodness.
and put it submitting it as my homework and all. And it's like, no, I just
You
have a
know,
really
should.
good camera. I just
Yeah,
have a really good camera. I mean, 'cause I was
that is
using my, I mean,
funny.
I was using my phone, but I was also I have those one of those like those Canon professional cameras and all. So
Yeah.
I was using like those two and all. So and the pictures were just coming out looking like this belongs in a magazine. Like what in the world? And yeah, so it was crazy. So she started asking me like, okay, can you just start emailing me those? Because what the what the
There's some amazing, like I've watched people and I've seen the difference that it makes, when you have a
yeah.
certain kind of camera. Because there's a couple of people I follow online and I'm like, what kind of camera is that? Like the
I
sauce is
know.
like like glistening. It almost looks like it's shimmering in the freaking
Mm,
camera. Like there are so many amazing tools and equipment
yeah, it
that really
is.
kind of just brings about that great image. Like I know there are certain restaurants, and I'll go on their website and some of the pictures, I'm like, ooh, that don't even look good. I don't want to eat that. But then there are
Mm-mm.
some where the catalog is just kind of like it makes your mouth water just looking
Mhm.
because it's just and it's not even I mean it is what's on the plate, but sometimes it's just like, oh well the lighting or they're
Mhm.
taking it from a particular angle. Um
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
makes a difference when you're like advertising food. So I do want to read this review because I am looking at it. So this was
Mhm.
from May 18th, 2025, so very
Mhm.
recent. Um, it's 5 stars. Absolutely phenomenal experience. Mark was outstanding from start to finish. He worked closely with us to curate the perfect menu for our family of 15. Whoa, that's a big party. Okay.
Yeah.
For OBX weekend, I don't know what OBX stands for.
Outer Banks.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Not only did he drive 3 hours from Petersburg, VA, we gotta talk offline about Petersburg because I went there for the first time a few
Yeah.
weeks ago, so I want to tell you
Okay.
that. But you drove
Okay.
3 hours from Petersburg to be there, but you also spent over 7 hours
That's a
single.
little generous, but it was a seven, but okay. It was a seven. It was less than that, but okay.
Well, for the sake of what they wrote.
Right, yeah.
Single-handedly preparing an incredible meal, all while being warm, professional, and a fantastic conversationalist, which you are. The food was delicious, beautifully presented, and made our evening unforgettable. Our entire family loved him, and we're already planning to book him again next year. Highly recommend. Mark is worth every penny and more. And they even put, some pictures in the review. So that's freaking amazing. So talk to us about creating an experience because I love that in this review, it wasn't strictly just, oh, the food was delicious. Like they talked about,
Right.
the energy that you brought and how you
Mm,
pretty much went above and beyond to make this memorable, not just for the food they ate, but obviously they're very impressed with you as a person.
mm. Well, the thing about it is that I food has a very profound effect on everyone. I mean, and it's just, and especially when it's good, because I mean, yeah, you're gonna, like you say, like you just said just now, it's like you get people that just say, oh, it was good, it was okay, it was cool, 3 stars, 4 stars, whatever, stuff like that. But when you realize you could do a little bit more, when you realize you have an imagination, you realize that you know, you can make something that just go, when you can make something that seems insignificant on a plate go actually pop a little more, because it's like, I'm that type of person where it's like, okay, I don't want you to eat my food and be like, oh yeah, this was cool. I mean, I didn't really touch this thing right here, but but I mean, this was good. This was okay. This is all right. No, I want people to look at the most insignificant thing that they will see on that plate normally and be like, I used to never eat this before, but today, you know. So when it comes down to it, first things first, we do a consultation, and we because I want to know as much as possible. I want to know is more than just okay, what does everybody like and what's everyone's like dietary preferences, and are there any allergies and all that. Of course, that's the first stuff we get out the way immediately. But I want to have an understanding of people's connections with certain foods and stuff. Because yeah, with any I can just put out my give them my specialties menu and everything and let them choose pick and choose from there, which is fine. Or I feel like, okay, is there a certain protein you love? Is there a certain veggie you love? Is there a certain anything? um a lot of times they usually name things that I probably have like a good relationship with and all. And sometimes somebody would mention something that I never cooked a day in my life. But rather than like play around with it or whatever like that, just to be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to actually make that on my own to see how I feel about it. And then if I'm good with it, like savory cornbread, like you don't hear people say savory cornbread. And someone had asked me for that. It was just like, how do you like say I don't, huh? But but I told the client like, okay, you know what? Um, I want to make that on my own real quick and see how I feel about it and all. And then when I actually did it, it was just like, oh, okay. I'm gonna make this more often. Goodness, you know. I feel like I want people to create a relationship with what they're eating. I don't. I want this to be because being a personal chef, having a personal chef is an experience. It's not just okay. This guy up in there cooking in the kitchen or whatever the case. No, it is an experience, and I owe it to them to create to make it a very pleasant one. And at this particular function in general that you just the review just read, at first people were afraid to talk to me. Like because they kind of looked at me as though I had to be in this zone the whole time and everything. And it's like, okay, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the zone, but at the same time, what's up? What do you like to eat? What do you you know what how's the beach? How's this out? Feel free to say something. It's okay. I can talk and cook. I mean, I already had everything prepped, so it really wasn't much that I had to think about. Um, and so the whole time it's like it felt like because it was a family reunion, mind you. So it felt like I was talking to family as I was going, as I was cooking along the way and everything. Everyone had their telling me their experiences, what they've done with the things that they've done throughout life and all, and the jobs they have now, because it was a few retired folks there and everything. And it felt good. If it made them feel like, even though this was like a summer house, a beach house that they visit every year and all, it really felt like home to them. It really made that whole experience made them feel like, you know what, this is now an extended part of the family because he's being warm, he's being open, he's being inviting, and so on. I even did the cornbread first, just to have it out there, because I mean, you're gonna be passing back and forth, and you're gonna be smelling food, so I'm pretty sure you're gonna get hungry, and also made the cornbread first, did everything else afterwards, um, and I'm very happy to say with that particular night, there was a person that it was I think it was a grandfather of the family. He he was kind of on the disabled side, really good guy too. We got the chance to talk, and it was definitely an honor talking with him. His wife approached me at some point in the night and was like, I can't get him to eat anything, and tonight he ate everything that was put on his plate, like for the first time, like ever, and all, or at least ever that she saw him. So it's stuff like that I live for. I love it. I love things like that. So I feel like to wrap everything up from this whole explanation, um, I believe that having food is an experience. And whether it's on my high-end menu, whether it's on my basic menu, whatever, it's like, look, either way, you're going to get an experience. You're paying for more than just a meal. You're paying for a good time in general. And I'm going to do my best to give you that.
Okay, awesome. Very, very cool. So, there's a couple different things I want to ask. And so
Okay.
you talked about, and we're kind of gonna go back, but then we're gonna come back forward.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's cool.
Back to the whole culinary school thing, because there are a lot of people who have never been to any kind of formal training.
Right.
And then you have people who have, studied at, the best of the best and,
Hmm.
rub shoulders with the whoever is the biggest in,
Yeah.
was it Gordon Ramsay or, I studied under
Hmm.
Gordon and stuff like that. So
Right. Right.
do you think that culinary school or any kind of like formal training makes a person a better chef, or do you think that it's not necessarily like it's one of those things where, for example, college degrees. There are
Hmm.
some
Hmm.
people who have never been in college a day in their life, but they're so intelligent and they can
Right.
do so many amazing things and they have all
Right.
these amazing skills. And then you have people that, sail through college somehow.
Hmm. Hmm.
Someone's, related to the dean and, they get in, they
Yeah.
make the grade, and then it's
Yeah.
like, here you go, I got my certificate. So I guess what I'm asking is, do you feel like going through formal schooling is, I want to say, do you think it is a true flex? Do you think somebody can be an amazing chef without it? Or does culinary school kind of seal the deal to know, hey, this person is serious because they made an investment in the craft?
Mm. Well, I don't think going as far as becoming a good chef or so, I don't necessarily think that one absolutely positively have to go through like they have to absolutely go through like culinary school for it because I've definitely run into several chefs that just started restaurants from ground up and maintained their restaurant and all haven't stepped foot in culinary school at all. But I feel like when it comes to culinary school, it's a way to finer tune yourself as a chef. It's a way for you to kind of help break into that like you want to get into like finer dining and things of that nature. But there's like so much of a language barrier there. And I don't mean necessarily like nationality thing, but you sit in the restaurant and you're able to look on the plate and yeah, sure, the person sitting next to you will be looking at the plate and an untrained eye will look at it and just be like, this is a little bit of food. I mean, I don't know what this is, and this looks like it's just a bunch of, but you having a better understanding of it now can look at it and go, okay, the reason why this is so in such a small quantity is because it's salty and it's too much. It's too much like, yeah, and so on and so forth. Um, but I feel like going to culinary school really kind of helps to build more of a discipline in a sense. It really just helps you understand more about how the industry actually works a little more too. Because I know the school that I went to, they definitely made so much of an emphasis on the business side of things, which I'm glad that they did because I don't think I would have been thinking about it after I graduated. Really thinking much about it and all. It really just kind of it helps to build a little bit more structure. Now, granted, you can get that same structure if, say, there's a family business, a family restaurant that you kind of grew up in, and you realize like, oh well, my mom, this is how my mom did the books, this is how my dad ordered the food and stuff and all supplies and everything. And, there's ways you can get that experience, and so on and so forth. Now, I mean, me, I didn't know anybody as far as like family members that owned restaurants and all that, but I've known a lot of family members. I known a lot of cooks throughout life. I mean, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. I'm like surrounded by every nationality of chef you can think about at that point in time. Mostly West Indies. Your Caribbean, your Puerto Ricans, your Latinos and such. You're Asian, because let's face it, every hood has a Chinese restaurant. But Italians and all pizza restaurants are everywhere in New York still to this day. And so there was always some kind of influence that really said to me like, okay, yeah, American cuisine, yada yada yada, great, but what about some jerk chicken? What about some paella? What about this? It's always a different influence. So I would in a sense recommend. I think it comes down to what direction that person is going in as a chef. Is it, do they want to just, start a food truck and everything? Because I mean, if anything, okay, if you have a good source of income, getting your money together, if you, there's business classes you can take, to get an idea of what's going on and stuff. So I think going to culinary school, yeah, it does have a major degree of seriousness to it. If that's the direction you want to go in, I definitely recommend it personally. But like I said, it all depends on what that person really wants to do and how they want to get into that direction. There are some people that I've said to them, like, yeah, I think you really should try to go to culinary school. Not because I feel like, oh yeah, your cooking is da 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 da, but because it helps you gain some kind of direction to where you really want to go versus blindly just, okay, well, I'm gonna huff it in all these different kitchens and so on. I mean, what you probably want to do anyway. But I'm just gonna huff it in all these different kitchens and hopefully catch my break somewhere, you know.
Okay, well, that perfectly leads into my next question. So,
Mm.
health.
Ah.
Because man, watching a lot of online chefs or people that display, the things that they're making online has
Mhm.
really opened up my eyes to a lot of things. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I'm watching somebody make I don't know, let's just say some kind of dessert. And I just
Mhm.
see like, oh my gosh, the pounds and pounds of butter and all the sugar, and then watching them, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't believe. And you know that that's in the food.
Yeah.
Actually watching people do it, I remember
Mhm.
like I stopped eating certain desserts for a while because I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, especially when you go out to a restaurant, you're not
Oh
thinking
yeah.
that. Um,
Mhm.
but anyway, I say all that to say because you were talking about discipline and
Yeah.
a trained eye. So would you ever say no? Now with your special menu, I'm not sure like what kind of food is on there, but let's just say
Mhm.
you had a party and they want you to make some of the most unhealthiest foods and they want like a ridiculous amount.
Mhm.
Would you ever say, you know what? I'm uncomfortable with that, or would you ever try to educate them on like, this is a high salt intake or too much this, too much that? Like,
Mhm.
where do you have boundaries with that? Like, how would you handle that?
Mhm. Well, that's what the consultation is for, because I I haven't come across anyone that has made any kind of unreasonable request because nowadays a lot of people are becoming more health conscious about things and all, because even with the dinner that I made for that family reunion, yeah, there was some mac and cheese involved, there was some candy yams involved, things of that nature, but there was also greens. There was also greens, and usually a lot of people, well, growing up, usually like their greens are usually flavored with meat and stuff. Me, I don't do that. I actually don't do that, and they were actually okay with it. They realized like, okay, yeah, because my belief is that there's healthy ways to enjoy. what you really love. There's definitely healthy ways to enjoy it because let's face it, when you go to, and I can't say this about every restaurant, but there so much processed stuff, so much processed foods, um, so many things are processed and everything, and it's just sad because because like when yeah, it's just horrendous. But me, I'm that person that's gonna go, okay, so you want like I've had people who ask for cupcakes, things like that, and I have no problem making cupcakes. But understand I am not going to get some white sugar. I haven't cooked with white sugar in probably 20 years right now, to be honest. I like everything's organic, everything, I'm not going to the hood corner store to get this, and this that probably got so much stuff in it that you can't recognize or what have you. I am definitely that person that will look at an ingredients list and I'll have my phone right next to me going, don't know what this means. Let's see what this is. And so on and so forth. I go to butchers. I don't just go to like the back of the supermarket or whatever. And you're like, no, I actually go to butchers because I need to know where exactly did this meat come from and what kind of farm is it and so on and so forth. I do research. I mean, there's a client right now. I'm like, they ask for beef tenderloin and all, and they know like if you go into a butcher for some beef tenderloin, it is not cheap. And so thankfully, I got connections with a few butchers in Richmond, and so yeah, I'm like, hey, I want to make sure that everything that's being put on your plate is something reasonable. I'm not trying to shove you full of because no, I think the only time I've ever been asked to do something fried, like deep fried even, was some fish. Like really just fish one night. It was actually that same party and all. But I feel like we're in an age now where more and more people are really more health conscious in a sense. Even when it comes to enjoying their normal like Southern favorites or so, stuff that the soul food that we normally would be like ready to, have heart disease and all this other stuff about. But it's like people are now finding all these different ways to enjoy their favorites without the negative parts of it and all. I'm even doing like a meal plan with a client now who gave me an entire list of everything that she is not like she cut out of her diet and everything. And sure, there's that part of me where that would look at a list like that and go, oh my gosh, that's torture. But then it's like, you know what? Let me be respectful of this person's dietary choices because, they're, because the person is in great shape and everything. And, and people are trying to get away from the restaurant thing because they don't know what goes in those in that food. So,
Yeah.
I'm very so, it leads me to being very transparent about my ingredients. I make my own seasoning combinations. I let them know what markets I go to. I go to farmers markets. I don't know if Maryland has. I think Maryland has a fresh market, doesn't
Hmm.
it?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. I'm there a lot. I go to local butchers. I let them know that this is where I'm going. So I'm not gonna tell them. I'm not gonna turn around and be like, well, I'm gonna go to Food Lion and pick up just doom 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 whatever or what have you.
Okay.
Um, you know, and I think when it comes to health, that's one of the most important parts to what I do. It's like having that transparency so people feel like, okay, you know what, he's actually looking out for my health. He's not,
Hmm.
but but no one has requested anything that made me go, are you sure about that? You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Very okay. Thank you. Well, I kind of am running out of time, unfortunately. I have so
Oh,
many other questions. We might have to do a part two because I
Right.
want to talk about things like, because we were talking about health. So
Yes.
I recently have been learning about different types of cookware.
Ah,
What
yeah.
kind of cookware should you be using?
Yeah.
Kind of tools, storage. Like my mom was always very strict about food storage, and she would have all
Yeah.
of these rules, and she's just like, oh, well, once you microwave this, then you have to eat it all because you can't put it back in the refrigerator. Like there were all these different
Mm,
things. I'm like, Mom, what are you talking about? Back then. But
mm,
now, over the years, I'm just kind of like, oh, well, actually, yeah, because of this and that and
yeah.
contamination and,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So I've been learning a lot, and I feel like a lot of people are now, I don't want to say they're just now becoming interested, but I think like awareness,
Mm,
a lot of us are becoming more and more aware of, things that are hazardous, things that we never
yeah.
realized could
Yeah.
be impacting our health. So I definitely want to talk about that. Maybe
Oh,
we
yeah.
can do a part two.
Oh, definitely. For sure. For sure.
But where can people reach you, get in touch with you if they're interested in your services? I know you mentioned, Virginia, but would you work with somebody that may not be in your area? Like,
I have so far. So yeah, I have worked with folks out in like North Carolina,
nice.
and every now and again I'll be well. It's been a while since I've been from Maryland. I was the last time I was in Maryland. I did a few bottles of my plant based milk.
Mm,
Yeah, but if anybody wants to actually request my services, they can go to thumbtack.com and just type in Mark L. Burns personal chef, or chefs and personal chefs in Petersburg, Virginia or so. And it's probably only three of us right now still, so it's very easy to find me there. But you can also contact me through Instagram at Mark the Food Dude. And I actually do every now and then. Well, I've been doing them more now than before, but I do live streams on Saturday afternoons, and all. Usually I'm just obviously I'm in the kitchen, doing my thing in the kitchen and everything. And I'm also, of course, I'm on Facebook as well. So yeah, through though, but I actually also have a separate page, it's Mark L. Burns, personal chef. So you can go there and all the you can use any of those ways to contact me and all, and request my services. And yeah, that's the easy way to find me.
awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Mm,
It's been a pleasure, and like I said, I'm so excited to see you doing all of this stuff.
mm.
So definitely gotta get you for a part two. But
Oh
again,
yeah, definitely.
for popping through the podcast.
All right, thank
And
you. Thanks for
yeah,
having me.
of course.